What if I told you that your hair, yes, your hair is a window into the health of your brain, your hormones, and even your stress levels? For millions, hair loss feels like a purely cosmetic issue. But the truth, it's a biological signal, a message your body is sending you. And just like any message, it can be understood, decoded, and even changed. Today, I'm going to show you what science really says about hair loss, and more importantly, how to activate the biology of hair regrowth. This isn't about miracle oils or gimmicks. This is about real, peer-reviewed science, about using your nervous system, your hormones, your habits, your entire biology to take control. Whether you're 20 or 60, male or female, struggling with thinning hair, or just curious about optimizing your health, this talk will give you actionable, science-backed tools that you can use starting today. Asterisk hair follicles are far more than passive structures sitting on our scalp. They are dynamic, living microorgans, intricately connected to our biology and especially to our nervous system. What most people don't realize is that the state of your hair is a direct reflection of your internal environment, particularly your stress levels and how your brain and body respond to that stress. Every single hair follicle is wrapped with a dense network of nerve endings and blood vessels. These nerves are part of what's called the autonomic nervous system, which controls our fight or flight response, as well as our rest and digest state. When you're under chronic stress, whether emotional, psychological, or physical, your body releases elevated levels of stress hormones, primarily cortisol, through the HPA axis or the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Elevated cortisol disrupts a variety of systems in the body, but it has a particularly strong impact on the hair growth cycle. Hair grows in phases. There's the anagen phase growth, catagen phase transition, and telogen phase rest. Under chronic stress, more hair follicles are pushed prematurely from the anagen growth phase into the telogen resting phase. This leads to what's known as telogen effluvium, where hair falls out more rapidly and takes longer to grow back. This process can happen over several weeks or even months, and most people won't notice it until they begin to see clumps of hair coming out in the shower or on their pillow. That's not just cosmetic, it's a delayed biological response to something happening deep in your system. Stress doesn't just shift the hair cycle, it also reduces blood flow to the scalp. When you're in a sympathetic state, what most people call fight or flight, blood is redirected away from the skin and extremities and toward core muscles and vital organs. This means the tiny capillaries that feed your hair follicles become constricted. Less blood means less oxygen and fewer nutrients delivered to the follicle. Over time, this starves the hair and sends another signal that it's not a good time for growth, and that resources should be conserved. From your body's perspective, hair growth is non-essential during a crisis. What's even more fascinating is that hair follicles themselves have stress receptors. They can detect local and systemic stress signals, including the presence of cortisol, adrenaline, and inflammatory cytokines. In other words, your hair follicles are listening to the chemical messages your body is sending out. If the signal is one of chronic stress, they'll interpret that as a cue to shut down. There's also emerging research showing that the sympathetic nervous system can literally instruct hair follicle stem cells to remain dormant. This means that even if the follicles are still alive, they won't regenerate new hairs until the biological environment changes, until the nervous system is brought back into balance and the stress signal is turned off. This has profound implications for treatment because it means that regrowing hair isn't just about what you apply topically or take orally. It's about calming the nervous system. It's about shifting from sympathetic overdrive into parasympathetic recovery. Breathwork, cold exposure, exercise, sunlight, and even certain auditory tones can help activate the vagus nerve and re-regulate the nervous system, creating an internal environment that supports hair regeneration. So when we talk about hair loss, we're not just talking about something happening on the surface of the scalp. We're talking about a breakdown in communication between your nervous system and your biology. And when we talk about hair regrowth, we're talking about restoring that communication, telling your follicles it's safe to grow again, that the threat has passed, and that now is the time to regenerate. This is not magic, it is neurobiology. And once you understand that, you can begin to take control of it. Hair loss, particularly in men, but also in many women, is often deeply connected to hormones, specifically to a potent derivative of testosterone called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. To understand how DHT contributes to hair thinning and loss, we need to examine what this molecule is, how it functions in the body, and why it has such a powerful effect on hair follicles. Testosterone, the well-known androgen hormone responsible for male characteristics, such as muscle mass, facial hair, and libido, is converted in various tissues throughout the body into DHT by an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. This conversion happens in tissues like the skin, prostate, and crucially, in the scalp. DHT is significantly more potent than testosterone in terms of its ability to bind to androgen receptors. It's essential for certain developmental processes, especially during puberty, but it also plays a major role in adult physiology, sometimes in ways that are less desirable, like hair loss. When DHT binds to androgen receptors located in hair follicles, particularly in genetically susceptible individuals, it begins a process that causes the follicle to miniaturize over time. This doesn't kill the follicle outright, but it makes it progressively smaller, producing thinner and shorter hairs with each cycle. Eventually, these follicles shrink to the point where they no longer produce visible hairs at all. This is the hallmark of androgenetic alopecia, often referred to as male pattern baldness, though it also occurs in women, typically with more diffuse thinning. What's fascinating is that not all hairs on the scalp are equally sensitive to DHT. The follicles along the top of the head and the hairline are the most vulnerable, whereas the sides and back of the head are often resistant. This is why, in hair transplant procedures, surgeons typically harvest follicles from the back of the head. Those follicles tend to be genetically immune to the effects of DHT. For those trying to prevent or reverse hair loss, the logical strategy is to reduce DHT or block its interaction with the hair. This can be done through various methods. One of the most common approaches is the use of 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, such as finasteride. Finasteride works by reducing the conversion of testosterone to DHT, thereby lowering DHT levels in the scalp and bloodstream. In many men, this slows hair loss and in some cases allows for regrowth. However, because DHT also plays a role in other biological functions, finasteride can come with side effects such as decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, or mood changes in a small percentage of users. This makes it essential for anyone considering this therapy to weigh the benefits against the potential risks and to work with a knowledgeable healthcare provider. There are also topical formulations, such as topical finasteride or topical saw palmetto, designed to reduce DHT locally in the scalp without altering systemic levels as significantly. These options may offer a safer profile for some individuals, particularly those concerned about systemic side effects. Beyond pharmaceuticals, there are natural compounds known to have mild anti-DHT properties. Saw palmetto, for example, is a plant extract that has been shown in some studies to inhibit 5-alpha reductase activity. Other botanical compounds like pygeum, nettle root, and pumpkin seed oil have similar properties, although their effects tend to be weaker than prescription medications. Still, for those looking for more gentle or adjunctive therapies, these can be useful tools, especially when combined with lifestyle strategies and other hair supportive interventions. There's also the question of why some people are more sensitive to DHT than others. It's not just about how much DHT your body produces, it's about how your hair follicles respond to it. This sensitivity is largely determined by genetics. Some people have hair follicles with a higher density of androgen receptors, or receptors that are more reactive to DHT. For these individuals, even normal levels of DHT can trigger significant hair thinning. Genetic testing is now available that can give some insight into your personal risk of androgenetic alopecia, though it's not yet predictive enough to be definitive. Interestingly, DHT's role in hair loss is a great example of how biology is context-dependent. DHT can be a growth signal for body and facial hair, yet it becomes a suppressive signal for scalp hair. This paradox underscores the importance of understanding hormonal pathways in specific tissues, rather than assuming a single hormone has a uniform effect throughout the body. The key takeaway here is that hormone-driven hair loss is not simply a matter of excess testosterone or age. It's about a complex interaction between hormones, enzymes, receptors, and genetic predisposition. And while DHT is often vilified, it's not inherently bad. It's essential for many biological functions. The challenge lies in modulating its effects selectively, protecting the scalp from its unwanted influence, while maintaining its beneficial roles elsewhere in the body. Understanding this interplay is crucial because it means there are multiple intervention points. You can reduce DHT production, block its receptors, alter its activity locally on the scalp, or even desensitize the follicles to its presence. Each of these approaches offers a unique angle in the effort to prevent and potentially reverse hair loss, grounded in the science of human endocrinology and molecular biology. One of the most overlooked but profoundly impactful factors in the health of your hair is your relationship with light, specifically natural sunlight, and how it interacts with your circadian rhythms. While many people focus on topical treatments and supplements when trying to combat hair loss, they often neglect one of the most fundamental systems governing overall hormonal balance and cellular health: the circadian system. This internal biological clock controls not only your sleep-wake cycle, but also the release of hormones that have a direct impact on the hair growth cycle. Every cell in your body, including those in your hair follicles, has what's known as a peripheral clock. These cellular clocks take cues from a central pacemaker in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, which is located in the hypothalamus. The SCN sets the rhythm for your entire body based on light input, particularly bright light that enters your eyes in the early part of the day. When you wake up and expose your eyes to natural sunlight within the first hour of rising, it sends a strong signal to the SCN that it's time to start the biological day. This initiates a cascade of hormonal and neurochemical events that help regulate energy levels, alertness, metabolism, and importantly, hair growth. Exposure to morning sunlight helps set the timing of cortisol release. Cortisol often gets a bad reputation, but when it follows its natural rhythm, rising in the early morning and tapering off by evening, it actually plays a beneficial role. A well-regulated cortisol pulse in the morning is essential for metabolic health, immune function, and cellular repair, all of which contribute to healthier skin and hair. When this rhythm becomes disrupted either from inconsistent sleep, late-night light exposure, or insufficient morning sunlight, cortisol can remain elevated throughout the day and even into the night. This leads to chronic low-grade stress, which negatively impacts hair follicles by pushing them out of the growth phase and into the shedding phase. Beyond cortisol, morning light exposure influences the production of melatonin, the hormone most commonly associated with sleep. Melatonin is not just a sleep regulator, it's also a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent. Interestingly, melatonin receptors are found in hair follicles, and melatonin itself can influence the hair growth cycle. Some studies even suggest that topical melatonin can slow or reduce hair loss. But in order for your body to produce optimal levels of melatonin at night, it must receive the appropriate signal during the day: bright, natural light in the morning and low, warm light in the evening. This reinforces a strong circadian rhythm which benefits not just sleep but also tissue repair and regeneration, including in the scalp. Sunlight also indirectly affects other key hormones involved in hair growth, such as testosterone and growth hormone. Morning light exposure has been shown to increase the production of luteinizing hormone, which is involved in the regulation of testosterone in both men and women. Testosterone plays a nuanced role in hair biology. While its more potent metabolite DHT can contribute to hair loss in certain individuals, optimal testosterone levels are still necessary for maintaining the health of hair-producing tissues, particularly in areas of the body not sensitive to DHT. Growth hormone, which is primarily released during deep sleep, is another crucial player. It promotes cellular repair, stimulates collagen production, and supports the regeneration of tissues, including hair follicles. A strong circadian rhythm, supported by consistent light exposure during the day and darkness at night, is necessary to ensure proper deep sleep cycles where growth hormone can be secreted in adequate amounts. Poor sleep or disrupted circadian timing can lead to a drop in growth hormone, ultimately impairing your body's ability to renew and grow hair. Additionally, vitamin D, synthesized in the skin through UVB radiation from sunlight, plays a role in the proliferation and differentiation of keratinocytes, the cells that make up the majority of your hair structure. Vitamin D receptors are present in hair, and deficiencies in this nutrient have been associated with various forms of hair loss, including telogen effluvium and alopecia areata. While supplementation can help restore vitamin D levels, natural sunlight remains the most efficient and biologically compatible source. Spending just 10 to 20 minutes in the sun daily with some skin exposed can have profound benefits, not just for vitamin D but for your entire biological rhythm. Another mechanism by which light exposure can benefit hair health is through the nitric oxide pathway. Exposure to sunlight, especially near-infrared and red light, can stimulate the release of nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and improves circulation. Enhanced blood flow to the scalp means more oxygen, more nutrients, and better removal of metabolic waste products from the hair follicle environment. This not only supports active growth but also helps maintain a healthier scalp, which is foundational to sustained hair health. What's fascinating is how quickly the body responds to light-based cues. Within just a few days of consistent morning sunlight exposure and reduced blue light exposure at night, most people report better sleep, increased energy, and even improvements in skin and hair texture. These are signs that the circadian system is recalibrating and restoring balance to hormonal cycles that directly and indirectly influence hair growth. Ultimately, the way you interact with light every day can determine how well your body functions on a cellular level. Hair loss is often one of the first outward signs that something internal is misaligned. Restoring your relationship with natural light is one of the most powerful, accessible, and science-backed interventions you can make. It costs nothing, it starts working almost immediately, and its impact extends far beyond your hair. It rewires your entire biology to function as it was evolutionarily designed. The health and vitality of your hair are directly tied to the availability of key micronutrients and the quality of blood flow to the scalp. While most discussions around hair loss tend to focus on hormones or genetics, the role of nutrition and circulation is often underestimated, yet absolutely essential. Hair is composed primarily of a protein called keratin, and its growth depends on a continuous supply of raw materials and energy delivered through the bloodstream. Without sufficient nutrients and proper vascular support, hair follicles weaken, growth slows, and shedding increases. Hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the human body. They require a steady stream of nutrients, oxygen, and signaling molecules to remain in the anagen or active growth phase. If the supply is interrupted or reduced, even temporarily, the follicles can prematurely enter the catagen or telogen phases, halting growth and eventually leading to increased hair shedding. This is why nutritional deficiencies, even minor or subclinical ones, can have a profound effect on hair health. One of the most well-known nutrients linked to hair health is biotin, also known as vitamin B7. Biotin plays a crucial role in the synthesis of keratin and supports the infrastructure of the hair shaft. While severe biotin deficiency is rare, mild insufficiencies are not uncommon and can result in brittle hair, thinning, and breakage. However, it's important to understand that biotin supplementation only benefits those who are actually deficient. Flooding the body with high doses of biotin when levels are already adequate does not accelerate hair growth and may, in fact, interfere with certain lab tests, particularly thyroid and cardiac markers. Iron is another critical nutrient. It is essential for oxygen transport in the blood via hemoglobin. Hair follicles, being high-energy structures, are extremely sensitive to low oxygen levels. Inadequate iron impairs this oxygen delivery and is a well-documented cause of hair loss, especially in women. This form of shedding, called telogen effluvium, often occurs gradually and can be misattributed to stress or aging. Ferritin, a protein that stores iron, is a key marker to assess when evaluating hair loss. Even if hemoglobin levels appear normal, low ferritin can indicate that the body's iron reserves are insufficient to support healthy hair growth. Restoring iron through diet or supplementation often results in noticeable improvement within a few months. Zinc also plays a vital role in maintaining the health of the hair follicle. It contributes to DNA repair, immune function, and the regulation of oil glands attached to the follicles. A deficiency in zinc can lead to a range of scalp issues, including dandruff, inflammation, and even hair shedding. Zinc's interaction with enzymes and proteins involved in hair shaft construction is essential for maintaining structural integrity and resilience. Like other nutrients, zinc must be maintained within a specific range, as both deficiency and excess can be harmful. Vitamin D, often associated with bone health and immune function, has a powerful influence on the skin and hair as well. Receptors for vitamin D are found in the hair follicle, particularly in the part responsible for initiating the anagen phase. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to multiple types of hair loss, including alopecia areata and diffuse thinning. The connection is believed to be due to its role in modulating inflammation and supporting follicular cycling. Vitamin D also supports the proliferation and differentiation of keratinocytes, the cells that make up the bulk of the hair shaft. The health and vitality of your hair are directly tied to the availability of key micronutrients and the quality of blood flow to the scalp. While most discussions around hair loss tend to focus on hormones or genetics, the role of nutrition and circulation is often underestimated, yet absolutely essential. Hair is composed primarily of a protein called keratin, and its growth depends on a continuous supply of raw materials and energy delivered through the bloodstream. Without sufficient nutrients and proper vascular support, hair follicles weaken, growth slows, and shedding increases. Hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the human body. They require a steady stream of nutrients, oxygen, and signaling molecules to remain in the anagen or active growth phase. If the supply is interrupted or reduced, even temporarily, the follicles can prematurely enter the catagen or telogen phases, halting growth and eventually leading to increased hair shedding. This is why nutritional deficiencies, even minor or subclinical ones, can have a profound effect on hair health. One of the most well-known nutrients linked to hair health is biotin, also known as vitamin B7. Biotin plays a crucial role in the synthesis of keratin and supports the infrastructure of the hair shaft. While severe biotin deficiency is rare, mild insufficiencies are not uncommon and can result in brittle hair, thinning, and breakage. However, it's important to understand that biotin supplementation only benefits those who are actually deficient. Flooding the body with high doses of biotin when levels are already adequate does not accelerate hair and may in fact interfere with certain lab tests, particularly thyroid and cardiac markers. Iron is another critical nutrient. It is essential for oxygen transport in the blood via hemoglobin. Hair follicles, being high-energy structures, are extremely sensitive to low oxygen levels. Inadequate iron impairs this oxygen delivery and is a well-documented cause of hair loss, especially in women. This form of shedding, called telogen effluvium, often occurs gradually and can be misattributed to stress or aging. Ferritin, a protein that stores iron, is a key marker to assess when evaluating hair loss. Even if hemoglobin levels appear normal, low ferritin can indicate that the body's iron reserves are insufficient to support healthy hair growth. Restoring iron through diet or supplementation often results in noticeable improvement within a few months. Zinc also plays a vital role in maintaining the health of the hair follicle. It contributes to DNA repair, immune function, and the regulation of oil glands attached to the follicles. A deficiency in zinc can lead to a range of scalp issues, including dandruff, inflammation, and even hair. Zinc's interaction with enzymes and proteins involved in hair shaft construction is essential for maintaining structural integrity and resilience. Like other nutrients, zinc must be maintained within a specific range, as both deficiency and excess can be harmful. Vitamin D, often associated with bone health and immune function, has a powerful influence on the skin and hair as well. Receptors for vitamin D are found in the hair follicle, particularly in the part responsible for initiating the anagen phase. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to multiple types of hair loss, including alopecia areata and diffuse thinning. The connection is believed to be due to its role in modulating inflammation and supporting follicular cycling. Vitamin D also supports the proliferation and differentiation of keratinocytes, the cells that make up the bulk of the hair shaft. While nutrition provides the foundational building blocks, none of these nutrients can reach the follicles without adequate blood flow. That's where circulation becomes critical. The tiny capillaries surrounding each follicle act as delivery highways, transporting nutrients and oxygen to the base of the follicle where new hair cells are generated. If circulation is compromised, whether due to stress, poor posture, tension in the scalp, or systemic vascular issues, the follicles become starved of these essentials. Scalp massage is one of the simplest and most effective methods to improve circulation. Regular massage increases blood flow, relaxes tight connective tissue, and stimulates mechanoreceptors that trigger the release of nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and enhances nutrient delivery. Studies have shown that consistent scalp massage over several months can increase hair thickness, likely due to the mechanical stimulation of dermal papilla cells, which regulate hair follicle activity. Microneedling, a more targeted approach, involves using a device with tiny needles to create micro-injuries in the scalp. This process stimulates a healing response that increases collagen production, enhances blood flow, and triggers the release of growth factors such as vascular endothelial growth factor VEGF and insulin-like growth factor IGF-1. These molecules support the reactivation of dormant follicles and promote new hair growth. When used in combination with topical treatments like minoxidil or peptides, microneedling can significantly enhance absorption and efficacy. Cold exposure, particularly through cold showers or cryotherapy, has also been explored as a tool for improving circulation and reducing inflammation. While it may seem counterintuitive, cold triggers vasoconstriction followed by a rebound vasodilation once the body begins to warm. This cycle improves vascular elasticity and responsiveness, both of which are beneficial for maintaining optimal scalp blood flow over time. Breathing techniques and cardiovascular exercise also play a role in supporting circulation. Deep diaphragmatic breathing increases oxygenation of the blood and helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which in turn improves overall vascular function. Regular aerobic exercise enhances capillary density in peripheral tissues, including the scalp, ensuring that nutrient-rich blood reaches even the smallest vessels that feed the hair follicles. When these elements, nutrient sufficiency and optimal blood flow, are addressed together, they create a fertile internal environment in which hair follicles can thrive. Without them, even the most advanced hair loss treatments will have limited effectiveness. It's not enough to stimulate the follicles or block hormones. You must nourish and support them from the inside out, ensuring that they have everything they need to function at their highest level. This integrated approach is what allows for sustainable long-term improvements in hair strength and health. Stress is one of the most pervasive and underestimated drivers of hair loss in both men and women, and its effects run deeper than most people realize. While we often think of stress as a mental or emotional experience, it is in fact a powerful biological force that influences nearly every system in the body, including the hair growth cycle. Chronic stress disrupts hormonal balance, impairs nutrient absorption, affects blood flow, and triggers inflammatory responses, all of which can contribute to hair thinning, excessive shedding, and in some cases, even the complete shutdown of hair follicle activity. Hair grows in a cyclical pattern composed of three main phases: anagen growth, catagen transition, and telogen resting. Under normal conditions, the majority of hair follicles are in the anagen phase, actively growing and producing hair. However, when the body is under prolonged psychological or physiological stress, a large number of follicles can be prematurely pushed into the telogen phase. This process is known as telogen effluvium, and it is one of the most common stress-related hair loss conditions. What makes it particularly challenging is that the shedding usually begins several weeks or even months after the stressful event, which makes it difficult to immediately connect the dots between stress and hair loss. The physiological mechanism behind this begins with the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis. When you encounter stress, whether it's emotional, physical, or even nutritional, the HPA axis activates and triggers the release of cortisol from the adrenal glands. Cortisol, often referred to as the stress hormone, is necessary in small acute doses to help the body adapt to threats. But when cortisol levels remain elevated over long periods, the effects can be damaging. Chronic cortisol elevation disrupts the natural rhythm of other hormones, including thyroid hormones, sex hormones, like testosterone and estrogen, and even insulin. All of these hormones play key roles in maintaining the health and function of hair follicles. Increased cortisol also reduces the production of certain growth factors and proteins essential for follicle activity. It can inhibit keratinocyte proliferation, the very cells responsible for forming the hair shaft, and impair the activity of dermal papilla cells at the base of the follicle. These cells are essentially the command center of the hair follicle. They control growth, cycling, and regeneration. When they are exposed to excessive cortisol or systemic inflammation, their ability to support healthy hair growth is compromised. Beyond hormonal effects, stress directly impacts the immune system. Chronic stress has been shown to shift the immune response toward a pro-inflammatory state, increasing the production of cytokines that promote inflammation in tissues throughout the body, including the scalp. This is particularly relevant in autoimmune-related hair loss conditions, like alopecia areata, where stress can act as a trigger for immune cells to mistakenly attack hair follicles. Even in individuals without autoimmune conditions, systemic inflammation caused by stress can degrade the environment surrounding the follicle, making it less conducive to growth. Stress also negatively affects digestion and nutrient absorption. When you're in a prolonged state of fight or flight, blood flow is redirected away from the gastrointestinal system and toward muscles and vital organs, which impairs your ability to digest and absorb nutrients efficiently. This can lead to deficiencies in iron, zinc, B vitamins, and other critical micronutrients necessary for hair health, even if your diet is technically sufficient. It creates a scenario where the body is not truly starved for nutrients, but the nutrients are not reaching the tissues that need them most. Moreover, stress-induced habits such as poor sleep, skipping meals, reduced physical activity, and increased intake of alcohol, caffeine, or processed foods can further exacerbate the problem. Sleep in particular is essential for hair regeneration. Deep, restorative sleep is when the body produces growth hormone, which is critical for tissue repair, and cellular renewal. If stress is impairing your ability to get consistent, high-quality sleep, the body's natural capacity to recover and regenerate, including hair follicles, is significantly reduced. In addition to the physiological consequences, stress can also manifest in behavioral conditions that impact hair directly. One such condition is trichotillomania, a compulsive disorder in which individuals feel compelled to pull out their hair, often as a coping mechanism for anxiety or trauma. While not everyone under stress develops this condition, it highlights the powerful psychological link between mental state and hair health. To reverse stress-related hair loss, it's not enough to simply apply topical treatments or take supplements. The root of the issue lies in calming the nervous system, restoring hormonal balance, and reducing the inflammatory cascade triggered by prolonged stress. Techniques like deep breathing, mindfulness meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, and yoga have been shown in clinical studies to reduce cortisol levels, improve heart rate variability, and enhance overall resilience to stress. These practices directly influence the autonomic nervous system, shifting it from sympathetic dominance, the fight-or-flight mode, into parasympathetic activity, which is associated with rest, digestion, and regeneration. Even simple practices like walking in nature, engaging in hobbies, journaling, or maintaining strong social connections can have profound effects on stress modulation. These aren't just feel-good habits, they are biological tools that reprogram how your body responds to stress, and by extension how your hair follicles function. Some researchers have also explored adaptogens, herbal compounds like ashwagandha, rhodiola, and holy basil, that help the body better regulate stress hormones. While results vary by individual, many people find that incorporating these into a comprehensive wellness protocol can support recovery from stress-induced conditions, including hair loss. Ultimately, chronic stress creates a hostile internal environment where the body prioritizes survival over growth. In evolutionary terms, hair is not essential for survival, so when the body perceives that it's under threat, whether that threat is emotional, nutritional, or physical, it will divert resources away from non-essential processes like hair production. Understanding this is crucial because it reframes hair loss, not as an isolated cosmetic issue, but as a visible signal that something deeper in the system is out of balance. Addressing stress is not just about reducing hair loss, it's about restoring the body's capacity to thrive, regenerate, and function in a state of true health.